Fondest greetings, Z-Warriors. I'm your guide, Azarith Strife, and this week, the demonic swordsman starts his journey on Snake Way. Hey guys, Azarith Strife here. So, this is a new series that we're starting here at Random Number Gaming. The theory behind this idea was to take an unrefined deck that I had put together, no games, no testing, nothing, just a pure shell, put it out for you guys, let you guys see how you like it, and then take any suggestions or comments that you have, send them back to me, and then I'll actually address them in an article at a later point, seeing, how I feel about those changes, how I could see them being useful in what meta, and then just kind of giving an overall observation on those changes. So this is really going to be a lot of community interactive feedback that I really wanted to start and we thought was a really, really great idea. So what we're starting with today on Snake Way is going to be Black Perceptive Majin Dabura. So Dabura, I think, is a main personality that a lot of people haven't talked about other than just this demon, pun intended, that can OTK you and end the game, and it's not fun. But I think Dabura actually has a lot of interesting combos that he can do, and paired with Black Perceptive, unfortunately with the Sword Archetype, it's a lot of non-styled cards. But Black gives us access to, one, the most styled sword cards, and two, also gives us access to a card that allows us to turn those non-styled sword cards into styled cards and allows us to actually get use out of them in more than just their effects. So we are doing a sword archetype. It is pretty standard with the Dabura build, but Dabura is level 1, gaining anger off of sword cards. Also being able to tutor out a sword card when entering combat is really strong. His level 2 then gives it all your sword attacks a buff of a +1/+1. Then he gets an attack, which is really awesome, that generates an anger, and then it's a dashing sword attack that actually gets you a styled or named card with sword from your discard pile, and then you get to put it in your hand, and it just allows you to combo up and do some more chaining. Dabura is also really strong, so all these physical attacks are going to hit like a truck. It's level 3. Whenever you play a sword card, they can't have their damage prevented. And then his level 3 is actually probably my favorite level, because you get to choose a card in your discard pile, Rejuvenate, so you actually get to get selective rejuvenation, which is really good. You get 3-card discard pile banishment, so you get a Dev Blow. It's a 7-stage physical, and you can actually discard a card with sword in the title to use it twice. So I love the flexibility of this level. I love what it can do, and then just being able to banish 6 cards from your opponent's discard pile at the cost of a sword card, that's really, really awesome. And then as level 4, you get that buff back from the level 2, but it also punishes ally decks, because all of your opponent's personalities are going to lose 2 stages. Then its power is search your life deck or discard pile for a card with sword in the title, place it in your hand. So you get that action buffer of using it, which actually then gets you another action with the attack that you're playing. He just gets the combo up a lot. I really like Dabura, and I've always thought he was a cool character, even in the show. And then I really like his stack, I like his name cards. So first off, we're going to start here with our planning phase. So we're not running a lot of planning phase cards, but the ones we're running are very impactful. So I went with 3 aggressive sword drills. So the reason for 3 is I wanted to see it early. I wanted to be able to have the highest chance to see it turn 1, because this card is a huge powerhouse. Named cards can't have their damage prevented. Search for a sword card when entering combat as long as you haven't searched your deck already. And then the other reason that I like running 3 is if your opponent does not kill it, then you get to have an aggressive sword drill on every level. So you level up to 1, you lose your aggressive sword drill, you have access to the second one. You level up to 3, you have access to the third one. And then your 3, you can actually put it back in your deck so that you can search it back out, so you can have one for level 4 too. So I think 3 is the right call for aggressive sword drill. Then 1 Tree of Might. So it's an attach card, gives you a damage mod and +2 stages, and then also you get to search for a freestyle drill and place it into play. Now this could be a double-edged sword against some decks, but this is going to allow you to get out your aggressive sword drill once you've already leveled. You won't be able to activate it that turn, but it will give you access to it for your next combat. Then running our events, we are running 3 Black Scout Maneuvers. Now, this is a card that hasn't seen a lot of play in a while, but I wanted to run it because there's a lot of key cards that you can go after in a lot of matchups. This card is never a bad card, and in this deck, it's never really a dead card because you always have a lot of ways to filter your hand with it. So being able to get rid of key blocks against Namekian, you can get hybrid defense against black. You can get knee catch or finger block, black defensive burst, which is when you don't have to worry about that. It's great. And then we ran 3 because I wanted to see it early. Now, that does come with the downside that it's not as good late game, but we actually have an attack that allows us to filter our hand. So if we have this with that card, we can actually filter it around. Or just name and go for a 1 or 2 card banner, so it's still a little bit of damage. 3 stare downs, a villain staple, being able to kill the best card in their hand. We are very much a combo-centric deck that we're going for, chains and multiple attacks, going for big turns. So stare down allows us to utilize all of that knowledge that we're gaining and also killing their best cards. So it actually allows us to set up for those turns. 3 Unleashed. Yeah, we are an Unleashed build. So the way that the reason that we went this route was because 1, we were Dabura, we want to reach the higher levels, and 2, lets us search out that black card that I was mentioning that turns all of our non-styled attacks into styled attacks and allows us to then just activate our mastery on every attack. So that's why I wanted to go with an Unleashed build, because we wanted to get that card attached as quickly as possible. And because we're an Unleashed build, we're going with 3 Villainous Energy Spheres, with Visit in the Past now being frozen. 3 Villainous Energy Spheres I feel is the way to go in an Unleashed build, because you want to protect your Unleashed. There's also a lot of events that can really kind of hamper you, such as Time as a Warrior's Tool, Stare Down Confrontation. So the fact that we can't Visiting for a sphere, I wanted to go with 3 spheres just to protect that Unleashed. And then Time as a Warrior's Tool, because it's still the best, if not very close to the best card in the game, just to stop all. It's too good not to run it. Now going into our actual blocks of the deck. So first off, we have 3 black delays. This card, in all of my testing with the card itself, not necessarily this deck, but this card has always been incredible value. 1 endurance, and then on all of those MPs that have physical attacks on their MP levels, the setup attacks in blue, allies, this allows you to just punish that, make them -1 on whatever they're throwing, getting a random discard, so it's putting you up card advantage, getting you ahead on actions to where you can just set up for those big turns. I love black delay. I've always loved it in all of my black decks. 3 black knee catches, so we're running 6 physical blocks. I think personally it's the best styled physical block in the game, because it gives you the 2 anger and it has endurance. Real simple, but we are Dabura. We're trying to level, so we want to get the 2 anger from those physical blocks. And then 3 black swipes as our energy blocks. We're only running 3 energy blocks. 3 card discard pile, banishment, 2 endurance as a reactionary effect on the banishment. And because we're a physical beat stage lock centric concept, I wanted to be able to use my physical attacks as more energy blocks, so that's why I'm running really light on the energy blocks. So now we're going to get into the meat of the deck and really kind of where Dabura's concept comes out. So first off, we're running 3 black Cutoffs. So because we're a Majin, it's considered a sword card, so Dabura loves his sword cards. Cost a stage, which is unfortunate, but it's kind of a common theme with a lot of the sword cards, is they cost a stage. But then the next time your opponent draws a card, you get to draw a card. So this sets up a lot of interactions with cards like Orange Android Rising Punch if you level. Goku's the big offender of this one, though. So if they go to use their level 2 power, level 3 power, you then get to draw a card. And then it does 5 stages. Dabura can modify that up to 6 stages, 8 stages with Tree of Might. Yeah, I like that card. Then the reason we're running Unleashed, Black Punt. So we can only have 1 attached physical attack that costs 1 stage. We don't really want to be playing this as a physical attack unless we have to. We just want to search it out with Unleashed. While it's attached, all cards you own are considered styled. You banish it when your opponent changes levels, but we actually have a lot of ways to stop our opponent from doing that. And then it does 5 life cards, so if we do have to throw it as an attack, it can crit. And then 2 endurance. I love having a high endurance count in my deck, especially on a lot of different cards. So Black Punt great because it's going to turn all of those non-styled sword attacks into threats because of our mastery. So then we're running 3 black sword rushes. So, anger, if your opponent's drawn a card this combat, they lose 2 stages, so it sets up interesting multiple interactions if they draw a card, if you have that and black cutoff. And then 2 endurance, 5 stages. Black gives us access to the most sword attacks, which is really funny. There's actually a sword attack that we're not running in this deck that's black because it was an energy attack and I really didn't want to run it. Black sword attack. Speaking of black sword attacks, so 2 endurance, raise your anger 1, and it gives you immediate board control. Now, it only bounces it to their hand, but it'll force them to keep either a card that they wanted to keep over the course of the combat or going into their turn, or make them discard it. So it also gets around, cards like Orange Burning Aura Drill, so you can bounce that up to their hand. If they don't now they don't have a block for it, now it's going to hit. Now you can clear another card because your mastery has 2 endurance, AT plus 3. Great card. Love that card. Love the thought of that card. Again, this deck has no games under it, so this is where the interaction is going to come in, where I'm really hoping that you guys will see some cards maybe that I missed, or cards that you guys have tested before and you really like. Please send them to me. I really want to hear about them. 3 Concussive Strikes. So this is the Majin's Dev Blow. So it's considered styled, so it's going to combo well with our mastery. Raise anger 1, lower anger 2, and because we're a Majin, we choose a player, which is going to be the opponent most of the time. That player banishes 2 cards from their discard pile, and then we rejuve 2, which is awesome. 2 stages, we can get it up to 8 with Tree of Might. Unfortunately, Dabura doesn't make it do any more, but that card's just really solid. Dabura's Demonic Slash. This card is just, wow. Every time I read this card, I'm blown away more and more by it. 2 endurance, 1 anger, lower anger 2. Jesus. 5 stages and damage, so it's not going to hit super hard, but if you draw this first turn and your opponent doesn't have a block, not only are you stage locking them, you are then getting another attack. Then 2 endurance, and the hit effect is you get to get a styled or named card with sword in the title placed in your hand. There's a reason that Dabura's Demonic Slash no longer has sword in the title. Yeah, that card's really solid, especially when you make it styled with Black Punt. Then you're getting some board control off of it too. And then the card that it really combos with, Dashing Sword Attack. Physical attack that costs 1 stage. Again, I said that's a recurring theme for sword attacks. Your opponent's MP loses 2 stages, so you're always going to go 1 for 2 on stage. 1 anger loss. AT plus 2, so it's not super strong, but it's not weak. With Dabura, he is an F a lot, so he can swing for 8. It's sword, so you get his buffs. And then Tree of Might will buff it even further. And then if you hit a Dabura's Demonic Slash into a Dashing Sword attack, and then that hits, you then get to get a styled or named card with sword in the title and place in your hand again. So you're just chaining. You're just getting all of these sword attacks. You're just coming in with a flurry of sword strikes. And then I was saying we have a way to filter our hand. Devilish Sword Strike might be the most interesting card from this deck. I really like the concept behind this card. I like the card. I like reading about the card. So it's a physical attack, lower anger 2. I love how much anger control that this deck ended up, coming out with in its first draft. Discard a card from your hand to draw a card because we're a Majin. So we get the filter. If we have that Black Scout maneuver late game, we can just draw a new card. And then if it's a sword card, your opponent loses 4 stages. So if they time you, you can still actually push some damage through Devilish Sword Strike, discarding a sword card. And it's not to 0, so they'll mill. And then 1 endurance, 5 stages, Daburas buffs with it. Really, really like that card. 3, I'll Dig Your Graves. So this is strictly for the unpreventable damage. Very rarely will we use the level up. It does 6, so it can do 8 with Tree of Might. It'll force a block from your opponent, especially if you have Punt attached and you can make it styled where it's going to blow up something on the board too. Yeah. Like I said, mainly there for the endurance. So here's an interesting choice that I went with. 3 Stomach Crushers. So, cards that in combat can't be played nor used this turn. So, this gets around a lot of things. They can't black power up even to get stages. Not only can they not in combat, they can't get stages. They can't ball 7 to my knowledge. They cannot use Yamcha's Rescue as a block because that card can end combat. They can't Blinding Energy move. It shuts down a lot of cards. And then you can't use setups until they've performed a styled attack from their hand. So that includes us, but we have styled attacks that we can perform, and if we have Punt, it itself will become a styled attack. So its effect will come in, and then it'll trigger itself. So, and 2 Endurance. This deck ended up being pretty bulky. So that's why I went with Stomach Crusher. 2 Black Chin Kicks with, I wanted to have some way of getting more Burst Anger. And, allies can be a pesky thing for physical beats decks. So I wanted to have some option to being able to shut off black ally decks. So Black Chin Kick is where they can't use allies, cannot have damage redirected to them, they can't make actions, and then hit you get to essentially double your anger. And then it does AT plus 3. Like I said, Dabura's in F a lot, so it can actually do a lot of damage too. And then 2 Daburas Spits. So it's a sword card. When it's discarded or destroyed from your life deck, you get to banish an ally, so it gets a Tug of War effect. Has 2 Endurance. Does 2 life cards as an attack, and then hit, it destroys a setup drawer ally or attached card. So that's really strong and going into the Saiyan matchups. If you get wall breakered, you can spit. They have to waste the block on the spit. Otherwise, you're going to be able to not only destroy a attached card, but then your mastery is going to trigger if you have Punt attached, and you're going to get another board removal. So that is my first draft of Black Perceptive Dabura. I'm really interested to see how the deck evolves. I'm really liking the concept of it. But again, this is the whole point of this series is to have interactions with the community. So I want you guys to take this list, see what you guys like about it, see what you don't like about it. I'm completely open to comments, criticisms, suggestions, everything. We're going to have the email that I've set up for Snake Way in our description box, but you can also Facebook message me, comment on the video, like, comment, and subscribe. I will pull all of the information that we're getting, and then I will actually write an article on all of the suggestions, on my observations, things that I like, things that I can agree with, disagree with, and just start up a lot of discussions. So that's been Snake Way for this week, and I'll see you guys on the other side.